if you want to support the show, any of the shows, either this or whichever show, I'm not on right now because this is just a blanket ad for all of them, and the website, you can go to bewareofspoilers.com. In the description for any of the episodes of Beware of Spoilers, there is the option to donate. If you don't want to donate that way, you can donate directly through the website. We do have that, mwpnews.com. And if you don't want to support that way, then going to mwpnews.com will help out because we have ads there. We don't want to keep it, where there's a lot of ads. There's a few ads. But the point is we want to make it so that way, we can sustain this for the long term. If people donate, we're never going to paywall anything, I don't think, as of right now. But if people start donating, we'll start doing cooler and cooler stuff. Like donations are how we get to cover stuff like Tribeca and other, film festivals. And, we may be able to bring on more people to help out. So if you want to help out the show and you want more content from us, by all means, even just going and giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify helps out a lot. But that's it. That's the only ad we'll have on the podcast ever. But here's whatever podcast you're going to be listening to. Good evening, and welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. It is late. It's going to be a quick one, so let's just get this, going. We got news today that Warner Brothers and Legendary have placed a new movie on their release slate. And this movie is an untitled, as of right now, Denis Villeneuve co-production between Warner Brothers and Legendary. This movie is, I believe it's December 18th or December 16th, 2026. The obvious question comes to mind. Is this Dune Messiah? I think it depends. Because here's the thing about Dune Messiah, for those who haven't read it, because I've read Dune Messiah. It is, not to brag, it is not a bombastic book in the way that, Dune, the end of Dune, you get this big bombastic thing that you can turn into a big spectacle. Messiah isn't that. Messiah is slower, Messiah is shorter, Messiah is more, thinky, for lack of a better word. Since Messiah is occupying that role, instead of being this, giant bombastic thing, I can understand why they would put it here. Why they would put it on this date. It's a good spot for a movie that you think you're going to be able to parlay into an Oscar win for, for Zendaya, for Florence Pugh, for Timothée Chalamet, I'm trying to think who else I could see in this role getting whoever you end up casting as Scytale. That's what you see yourself do. If you want to get Villeneuve an Oscar, you put this movie here. Here's the thing, though. That December date, for the last, let's say, 10 years, has kind of been occupied by big, kind of like a big summer tentpole movie. It's a big tentpole date. Why? Because it's Christmas weekend. You get a long weekend with a lot of people having a lot of days off to put a big movie in theaters. That's why that date is also reserved by another movie. And as of right now, untitled Star Wars movie. Now, it's most likely the new Jedi Order movie. That's the most likely candidate, because we already know The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out a few months earlier in May. So, and the closest one to production of their announced movies is New Jedi Order. So, we do kind of have a sense that there's, there could be some friction there. Now, why would you put Messiah up against that? Messiah is not a big blockbuster, so you're dealing with two different kinds of audiences. Messiah will likely be cheaper. I would assume between the two, Messiah is probably closer in budget to Dune than it is to Dune Part 2, which is good considering you can probably get the Dune Part 2, like, maybe not the exact 800 million box office, but you can probably get a good 5-6 out of it on an $80 million budget. Like, that's a good thing. Granted, we haven't seen Warner Bros. Make the best decisions in this realm recently. I mean, Joker Folie à Deux is 200 million. Like, that movie cost $10 million more than Dune Part 2 did. So it could be that. It could be that. The alternative is Warner Bros. Doesn't have confidence that Disney will be able to stick to this date, which I think is a fair assessment to make from a rival studio. I think that a Star Wars movie being on the calendar is not something that I can plan around. A Star Wars movie, especially an untitled Star Wars movie, is not something that I, as a studio, could be like, well, that's going to happen, so we got to keep the next 10 weeks empty because there's going to be a Star Wars movie there. Because, number one, I don't know, we haven't had a Star Wars movie released since, it's been 5 years at this point, because the last one would have been, Rise of Skywalker. Before that, it was Solo, and Solo bombed. So, the issue is, like, number one, is it the draw that it used to be? And then number two, is it something that we can rely is going to come out? Like, is that something that we can just be like, okay, so this is where we are. Like, I think that we look at this and we go, it's probably not going to actually come out this day. Let's just, put something there and be like, okay, definitively, if we put Villeneuve on this is the date we're going to hit. Messiah is going to come out this day. Like, I think that's the most likely thing that we have going on here. Plus the fact that we're looking at a movie that is a little over 2 years out from release at this point, because we're looking at, December 2026. That gives you time to shoot, do post, all that kind of stuff. And if you look at the production timeline for Part 1 to Part 2, Part 1 came out October 2021. We were supposed to have it in October 2023. It gives you a little bit more time, which makes sense considering, like, there's more pre-production work to do on Messiah than there is compared to Part 2. I think you get a lot of legwork done on Part 2 out of Part 1. So, all of that does kind of make sense. The other alternative is that this is not Dune Messiah, because they did just put it up as untitled Warner Brothers legendary co-production directed by Denis Villeneuve. It could be it's that that speculative fiction book about nuclear war. It could be that. I don't think you put that on the release slate this far out. That feels more like we're going to have this movie do a festival circuit first and then do that. And you also don't title it as an event film. I think the only one that you really title as an event film that's on his upcoming slate would be either the Cleopatra movie, which I think he's still doing, or the, what's the other big one he's got? The, I'm totally blanking on. Oh, Rendezvous with Rama. Yeah, that one. You put one of those two are event movies. If this is an event movie that you're putting there, this is Messiah. I think this is a move that's designed to get Disney to show their hand on how far along they are in the production of these Star Wars movies. Because that's kind of the big issue that we have here. We don't know where these movies are in production, and that is not really a problem for anyone, except for other studios who are trying to figure out what to do and how to plan accordingly. I'm curious to see what they end up going with here. I think we end up with... I think when all is said and done, I think Disney moves and Star Wars blinks off of that date. Because last we've heard, I think Damien Lindelof is no longer on it and someone else is doing a rewrite of the script. That said, or they recommit. Either way, this puts them in a weird position with San Diego Comic-Con and D23 around the corner. But we'll see. And we'll wrap up there for today. This week we'll be talking about Independence Day, the movie with what's his name? You've seen it, Jeff Goldblum. We've talked about this movie before, but we do this every. We're gonna do it. We when we set out to do the podcast, that's the goal every year. Talk about Independence Day on the 4th of July. I love that movie. We're gonna talk about it this week. Until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.